Hello and welcome back to another Just Films and That New Release special. I'm Josh Hallam, this time around we're going to be talking about The Whale. The Whale is the new Darren Aronofsky film, if you didn't know, starring Brendan Fraser. As with the last one, Empire of the Light, I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but if you don't want to know anything about the film, then maybe give this a listen once you've seen it. So, let's get into it then. So, The Whale is based on a stage play of the same name by Samuel D. Hunter, who also writes the screenplay for this. I'm not going to get into the plot too much, but the basic premise is that Brendan Fraser plays Charlie, who is a severely obese English lecturer who's basically housebound and struggling with both his physical and mental health. He's also trying to reconnect with his estranged teenage daughter, who's played by Sadie Sink. I was really, really excited for this one. I was excited for Empire of the Light because I love Sam Mendes, but I was particularly excited for this. Now, I do like Darren Aronofsky. I haven't seen all of Darren Aronofsky's films, but what I have seen I've liked. I particularly like Requiem for a Dream. I think it's an absolute fantastic masterpiece of a film. The main reason I was excited for this one, though, is because there's been a lot of buzz around Brendan Fraser in the film. It has been said it's been the role that could hopefully lead to a comeback for him. I hope it does. If you don't know at the time of recording, he's actually already been nominated for the Best Actor Oscar amongst other nominations. Now, I am generally a Brendan Fraser fan. I think he's a fantastic actor with bags of charisma. Obviously, what he's gone through in the last decade or so has been well documented, so I'm not going to get into that. All I will say is I'm glad to see him back in films. I hope that he does carry on with his comeback and keep smashing it. He's also in one of my favourite storylines in Scrubs, so, you know, it's a winner for me, really. Anyway, overall, there's plenty I liked about The Whale, you know. The main thing is, though, it is the performances. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get stuck into talking about Brendan Fraser's performance, because he is fantastic in this. He brings a real sadness and empathy to the character of Charlie, who is pretty tragic anyway based on what goes on in the film. But what I like about it is that he feels quite real. Now, he's acting under a lot of makeup and prosthetics in this, and I have to say they're some of the best I've ever seen, but it doesn't feel like they're doing the heavy lifting for him. They definitely help with the believability of it, but he has done so much work that it's clear to see from this film. He's done so much work in the way Charlie moves, the way Charlie breathes when he's speaking and things like that. You know, he feels like he is this character. There's a lot going on with his eyes and his face. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen when he was on it, you know, particularly during the close-ups and stuff. It's a little bit like I touched on with Olivia Colman with Empire of the Light, is that it's such a quintessentially not vain performance, and when you give up that vanity as an actor, I think you see the best performances of many, many people's careers. The rest of the cast are great too. So Sadie Sink and Samantha Morton are both in this. They're both great. I mean, we know from a long and storied career that Samantha Morton is fantastic, and it's clear from this and Stranger Things that Sadie Sink is, you know, she's got the world at her feet, and she's going to continue to have a very bright future ahead of her. But the other performance I particularly want to touch on here is Hong Chow. So I've only seen her in one other thing, I think, and I thought she was brilliant in this. So she is plays Charlie's friend Liz, who is a nurse who's desperately sort of trying to help him where she can, and she's the real emotional heart of the film. She's sort of like the audience's way into the film, where she's looking at Charlie, trying to help him, not knowing how she can help him, feeling upset for him, feeling angry with him, all that sort of stuff. And it feels like she just is the emotional heart of the film. I thought she's brilliant in it. Performances aside, I thought the film, the way the film dealt with its subject matter was really well balanced and really well nuanced. The film's not about Charlie's way. In a lesser skilled writer or director's hands, this would be all about Charlie's way. And it although that's part of it, it's not about that. It's not a story about health. It's more a story about how he came to be the way he is, why he is the way he is, and how he interacts with the people around him and how it affects them. It very much treats it like a disease, which of course it is. Like many other of Darren Aronofsky's films, it is rich in subtext as well around religion and literature and politics. So there's lots of things you can sort of make your own mind up if you want to. A little bit like people talk about Mother and Noah and a couple of other films, Black Swan. You can sort of make up your own mind about what it is about and what it's trying to say in the wider spectrum of things, if you know what I mean. So I think if I went into what I took away from it, I might give away too much, so I don't want to do that because it might be a spoiler. But there is a theme. All I'll say is there's a theme running through the film that relates to Moby Dick, the book, and so that might give you some insight into sort of what I took away from it. Okay, so in terms of what I didn't like, unfortunately. So, as the antithesis of what I've just said, I have to say I found it a little bit aimless in the plot. I think it's almost trying to spin so many subtextual plates and themes, it never really nails one down or one thing down. So, at points, it does feel a little bit all over the place. So, on one hand, you can sort of make up your own mind, and on the other hand, you sort of feel like they're throwing enough at you, hoping something might stick. So, it did leave me a little bit sort of bored in places, or waiting for it to become something that it sort of doesn't. But, you know, overall, I'd have to say the performance has made up for it and really saved it for me. And ultimately, look, if you like Brendan Fraser, if you want to see him give the performance of a lifetime, then I think this is probably the films for you. Now, I haven't seen the other performances nominated in that category for Best Actor. I don't think, you know, the Academy Awards and awards are the be-all and end-all. But that being said, I hope he continues to do well. He deserves to do well. And I hope he continues to you know, hope he continues his comeback, as they say. Is it the Renaissance or something like that? Is that what they're calling it? But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's The Whale. Enjoyed it overall. Couple of issues with it. But, you know, as with anything, go out, see it, make up your own mind. Thank you very much for listening. You know where to find us. We're on all the social medias. Just search for Just Films and That, justfilmsandthatpod@gmail.com if you want to email us. We'll be back with our regular episodes every Tuesday in your feeds, wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks very much for listening, guys. It's always appreciated. Cheerio.